Oh, I can share my screen. Hello, hello. How are we looking here, actually? Hold on, let's see the screen. I haven't gone live here in so long. Let me just wipe the screen. But I am coming live here because I am heading to Rome to be there in time for the conclave. So, hello guys, I'm Fusa Reese, known as Fuse, and I am the founder of Fuse Travel. So, it is a travel blog dedicated to stress-free travel tips to Europe and specifically to Italy. Well, Italy is the number one country that I love to cover. I've been 12 or 13. I don't even know if this is going to be the 13th or 14th time. I'm losing count, to be honest. So I love all things Italy. And with the recent passing of the Pope, I've been watching closely and learning more about what happens after a Pope dies and what's going on in the city. So with the funeral, there was I think almost 300,000 people. The cool thing, there were a couple of different things that happened with Pope Francis. First of all, he chose not to be buried inside the Vatican wall. He's at the Maggiore church. And so that was very unique. He's a patron of St. Mary, and he liked that church a lot. The other thing is usually they are buried in three coffins. Each type of material symbolizes something, but he decided just one coffin. He's just a very humble man, it seems. I don't know his full history or story, etc. But the world was very compassionate about his loss, and all the videos that I saw over in Italy and Rome, you could really feel the emotion, even I think if you're not Catholic. So I'm actually not Catholic. I'm of Christian faith, but I'm not Catholic. But I am heading to Rome and I arrive on the 7th, which is the official day, the first day of the conclave. So I wanted to just share a little bit more about the conclave and its origins. First of all, conclave refers to key. So back in the day in the 1200s, they were taking too long to choose a pope. One time it took almost 3 years. That's the longest, almost 3 years, and the shortest was actually a few hours in 1503 or something like that. So how did this conclave start? In order to avoid um, taking so long for them to vote, the cardinals they were locked in, and then they reduced their food supply. They even took the roof off in order to push the voting along. So that started the conclave in 1274. So it was formalized by the Council of Lyon with Pope Gregory the 10th. Okay. So it's very similar nowadays, but they're not starving and the roofs are not being um, taken off, etc. Right? So who can vote? Let's talk about who can vote and how does this work. So essentially, the cardinals, which is a higher authority over there in the Catholic Church, under the age of 80 can vote. Now, this is going to be the biggest, largest conclave in history. Okay, 133 cardinals. The last biggest one was 120 cardinals in 1975. And the interesting thing is that it was originally 135 cardinals, but two of them backed out due to health issues. The other interesting thing is that 80% or almost 80% of the cardinals were handpicked by Pope Francis. So that means that most likely the next pope is going to be someone that has similar beliefs to him. He was a bit more open minded, a little bit more progressive. So I don't think the next pope is going to be someone very conservative, right? So at least, it's going to be hard for the 20% that's not of his philosophies to actually win. But we're going to talk about contenders in a little bit. All right. So seclusion, they're going to be secluded inside the Sistine Chapel. And I followed the Catholic Traveler. And one cool thing that I didn't know, so I think I could share my screen here. They actually have to level the floor in the Sistine Chapel. Now, I've been in the Sistine Chapel 3 times now, I believe. When you go into the Sistine Chapel, you're not allowed to take photos, you're not allowed to film, and you're basically not allowed to talk either. So the reason why they do this is because it's uneven flooring a little bit. And I think it's because these guys are older. So they actually have to set up, and I've read somewhere it's also with cloth. So you could see here in these photos, they have to level off the floor before they bring in all the tables. So I don't know if you've seen the movie The Conclave, so you could get a little feel of the setup there. But that was really interesting. So follow the Catholic Traveler for sure, because he's there now, he lives there now, and he shows like the Cardinals. He's frequently in the news, and I'm gonna arrive May 7th, and I really hope I get to meet him in person, which would be really cool. And I will be streaming more for you guys and creating more videos. I'll be there. I think it's gonna be amazing, fantastic. I wouldn't say once in a lifetime because, maybe, I don't know, a lot of these popes are older, so maybe I will see one more pope in my lifetime. We shall see. All right, so they need to be secluded, no phones, right, in order for this voting to happen. So let's talk about like the voting a little bit more. So they're secluded inside the Sistine Chapel, and usually there's 4 votes a day, except for the first day. So the day I arrive, there's going to be 2 votes. So usually there's voting in the morning and in the afternoon. In order for a pope to be elected, they need 2/3 majority, right? So 2/3 would be 89 votes. Is 89 of 133 sounds right? I don't know if this math is correct, but you need to elect a pope. So the ballots are actually burned immediately after each round of secrecy. And then we have the black smoke and the white smoke thing. So this started in 1914 because they wanted to be able to share with the people that were waiting for the results, and they didn't know how. So they came up with this idea: black smoke, fumata nera, no pope elected. White smoke, fumata bianca, new pope elected. Now, back in the day, sometimes the colors would be off, so that really confused people. But nowadays, they have chemicals now to ensure the clear smoke signal, so it's not confusing. Even my son said he saw something that said that whatchamacallit, that there was mixed smoke signals. Let's call it that way. So, who are the top content? I'm hoping that the Pope is not picked on the first day because I arrived in the afternoon. So, in order, there's 2 time slots that the smoke comes out of. It's at 12 and at 7 p.m. And I believe that that's Italy time. Let me see. Time of smoke Pope voting. I believe it's at noon and at 7. Yes, local time. So noon and 7. So noon will be what, 6 a.m. here, East Coast time, depending where you are. So noon and 7 p.m. So 7 p.m. would be 1 p.m. around ish here, right? So that's so you guys know about the smoke. I'm hoping it's not the first day because I don't know if I'll arrive. So like I landed almost 5, and by the time I get to the Vatican, will it be before 7? Will I catch that first smoke signal? I'm not sure. How crowded will it be? I'm not sure. I actually brought this little chair that I'm hoping to be able to use, but we will see. All right, so let's chat real quick about some front runners, all right, and their backgrounds and why. And then I want to dive into a little bit of conspiracy theory because I think that's interesting. We are at a very unique political, even though this is religious and I'm not Catholic, this is very interesting from a political standpoint with everything that's happening in the world, like everything happening in the US with the current president and recession talks and tariffs, and then war with Russia, Ukraine, and what's going on, in Gaza and all that jazz. So this is going to be really interesting. And there's always like these theories because of previous prophecies, and conspiracy theorists always try to guess who the next pope is going to be. So let's talk about some of the front runners and their backgrounds. Some factors are, I think, geographical representation is really important. Like if we think about, Pope John Paul II, he was Polish. I think that was very important. It gave a lot of hope for Poland. Cold War, post-Cold War times, it's very interesting. Pope Francis was the first South American pope, I believe. So, and they said that what was his name? Was it Benjamin, the German pope? When he was voted before, actually, Pope Francis was a front runner as well, but he was having some legal issues. So they were like, not yet. So representation from traditionally underrepresented areas, DR, Haiti, Tonga, Papua New Guinea. Potential impact of historically diverse conclave on the future of the Catholic Church. So with this voting comes this political thing. Are they going to move more towards the progressive side? Or are they going to go back to their roots as far as a little bit more conservative? And also, they haven't had an Italian pope in a while. So there's a lot of speculation that the next pope will probably be Italian. But let's look at some of the mysteries. So, I mean, the top contenders now, we have that pope from Ghana as a top contender. There's also the Italian one that, let me see, he oversees something in Beirut. I think he's the one that's going to win. So let me see his name real quick. Top candidates. I forgot his name. I think Peter Kodopo-Pyaturkson. No. Hold on. So there's one top contender from, funny enough, that Pietro Parolin is the guy who's overseeing the conclave, just like Ralph Fiennes' role in the movie Conclave. He's Italian and he's a contender. He's 70 years old. We also have Luis Antonio Gopintago. He's from the Philippines. And this is an interesting one because it would be the first Asian pope. He's only 67, so he is a top contender as well. He's considered moderate with the Catholic definition and has been dubbed an Asian Francis. All right, Asian Francis, yes. The other one, Robert Prevost, I think that's the American. He's 69. One also, the guy from Ghana, Peter Kodo-Pyaturkson. And then I'm trying to find the Italian one that I told you. There's a Congolese guy as well, Cardinal guy. Here we go. Oh, there's a Hungarian, Peter Erdo. He's well known among African cardinals, but I don't think he's the one. I'm going to try to find the one for Beirut. It's the guy that's overseeing something in Beirut. Hold on. That's who I think is the top contender. Cardinal might, no, it's not this one. Top contender Pope nominees. I saw it the other day. I thought it was another Peter Battista Piazzabella. Wow, that's a long name. Let me see if it's this one. Peter. Yes, he's the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Yes. So Peter, let me share this with you guys. Let me share the other screen with you guys so you could see who I'm talking about. Here. Hold on. Yeah, this dude here. So Pierre, it's not Peter, sorry. Pier Battista Pizzaballa. He's a top contender. He's only 60, which is interesting. He's Italian, I believe. Yes. Is he Italian? Yes, he's an Italian archbishop and the current apostolic administrator of the Latin Patriarchs of Jerusalem. He's from Milan. So I think it's interesting because of what's going on over there with Israel and Gaza and that whole situation. I think he's a top contender, in my opinion, because number one, he's Italian. They haven't had an Italian pope in a while. Number two, of geographically where he's at. And I don't know his actual, if he's more on the conservative side or not, or if he was elected by Pope Francis. So let's look at that. Was Peter Battista elected by Pope Francis? Let's see. Cardinals is the Latin. He's currently considered potential successor. Yes. So he has a lot of experience in the Holy Land. Yes. So Francis did appoint him. to this. So to me, I think he's going to win, guys. I think he's like the top some mystery things, mysterious things, prophecies, um, etc. So the first is Saint Malachi. Saint Malachi prophecy. So he was an Irish bishop who actually he like had prophecies of like all the popes, right? A bunch of the popes. So he says that the last pope is Peter the Roman. So that was the last one. So there's like speculation that this will be the last pope in history. For whatever reason, the world's ending, Jesus coming back. I'm not sure because we don't know when and where. Well, where would be all over the world, right? But interesting enough, this saying predicted that the last pope would be called Peter and he would be Italian. So that's interesting. So, as you know, when a pope becomes a pope, he changes his name. So it's always interesting the names that they picked, and this started back in the day with one pope, and then the other popes just kind of follow tradition. So it's going to be really interesting that if this next pope picks the name Peter, then I'm going to be all eyes on this prophecy because that is a coincidence? I don't know. Conspiracy theorists do say. So Nostradamus has some cryptic prophecies and speculations. There's some prophecies saying that the next pope would be African origin, according to Nostradamus' predictions, etc. Um, Rituals and traditions. We know about the breaking of the ring. When the pope dies, they have to break his ring to make sure it's never used again because that ring symbolizes authority, etc. So, Habemus Papa is what they say in Latin when we have a new pope. What else? So first moments of the new pope, once the white smoke comes out, then they're going to come out in that balcony area in the Vatican, and hopefully I'll be able to catch this live because I'm only staying for 6 days. So I do think they are going to pick the pope within the first 3 days, for not for sure, but that is like my prediction. And then they bring him out to introduce him. What else? I'm just very excited to be there, very excited because I don't know how crowded it's going to be. I don't know the exact protocol as far as like what else they're going to do besides doing that announcement. I know right now Sistine Chapel is closed. There's areas of the Vatican Museum, like the gardens, that are closed. So if you are going to be in Rome within the next, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, you want to double check the timings, your tours, contact your tour operator, make sure you still have it access as far as the Vatican is concerned, St. Peter's Basilica, the museum, Sistine Chapel, etc. Other places should be okay. And I don't know what is the waiting time now to visit the Pope's tomb in Maggiore, the church where he is buried now. So I'll be visiting that too, and I'll be doing a video about it. I just want to look up here one more thing. Why Pope chooses new name. Let's just wrap it up and talk about that. Why? I know it started with after like one of the popes. It's a symbol of fresh start. Choosing a new name symbolizes a rebirth or fresh spiritual identity, marking a clear distinction between his former life and his new responsibilities in the Catholic Church. Honoring previous popes and saints, so they do tend to pick a name of someone they admire. Example, Pope Francis chose his name after Saint Francis of Assisi, symbolizing humility, simplicity, and care for the poor. The chosen name often reflects the Pope's priority. So that's why I think if we see the next Pope and if he's going to be Peter, we all got to stay with our eyes, pierced out because Peter, the apostle of Jesus, is considered the first Pope of the Bible. And I don't think there was a other Peter. I could be wrong. And so this practice began in 533 AD with Pope John II, who changed his name from Mercurius, which is a pagan god. You don't want to be named Mercurius if you're a pope. So it just sends a new message. It also, I feel like, is a stand on political agenda, what that new pope is going to represent. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you're catching the replay, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Fuse Travels, and on TikTok, because I'll have more up-to-date stories on Instagram as I arrive. So I'm super excited for my upcoming trip, and I can't wait to share with you guys what I find. So tag along, come with me, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss another live or another video. Ciao.